This video will show you how to repair a Savio Pond Skimmer filter. The problem we are addressing is that the metal screws that secure the faceplate and the rubber liner to the base of the skimmer can strip the bolts. Actually, they're just screw holes that are made of soft plastic on the base of the skimmer. Here's the manual in case you need to see it. Disclaimer: please do not attempt to modify your skimmer unless you must, for reasons such as leaks or other major issues. Watch the entire video, since the end discusses easier strategies to replace just one or two screws that are stripped, rather than taking all of the face plate off and the liner off and all the screws as shown in the beginning of this video. Any modification shown here will probably void your warranty. Okay, it's time to get dirty. Drain your swamp, take the faceplate off and the rubber liner, and let's get started. With water at least 2 inches below the bottom of the faceplate, you're going to need to dig out the area underneath the faceplate so that you can squeeze your hand and your arm under there in order to hold the nut steady on the other side. Make sure your fish have enough space to move and have air to breathe from the water of the pump splashing onto the surface of the pond, creating bubbles. Let's talk about three conditions. One is the plastic nuts here, or the screw holes. They're badly mangled and stripped. And two is maybe you pushed a bolt through, screwed it, and you didn't quite make the hole, and it actually ripped out part of the liner. And then three is maybe you put all the screws in at one time and tried to screw them into the skimmer, but they all push back against each other, so you can't screw an individual screw in because they're all keeping you too far away from the screw hole. The good news is that we can fix all three of these problems with a solution that follows. Okay, here is a screw fitting into the screw hole. We're going to take it out and look at it, and then we're going to replace it with a bolt, a metal machine bolt like this. So it's really going to go through the base of the skimmer. Now you might be a little bit nervous about drilling holes through your $400 or $500 filter skimmer, but actually these holes never touch the water. They're only on the outside. The outside here, which you can see with all the dirt around it. This hole here that is completely stripped. I drilled a hole in here through it to the other side. But basically you can see that this bolt now goes here, so that when I put the plate on here, the plate's being pulled here and tightened over here. So if you're going to do all the screws, obviously place them into the plate and then thread them through the pre-established holes in the rubber liner. But actually, if you can, just repair the holes that are needed. This will let you keep the plate and the rubber liner exactly in the right place. You simply take out the screws that are stripped, drill a hole, replace the screw with a machine bolt that's 3 inches long, and tighten it up. That way you keep the rubber liner and the plate exactly in the right place. So I started at the middle bottom and put the first bolt in and push it through since it's been drilled, and then move on to the next one to the right, and then the next one to the right, and then the next one. And then I start over here and go working to the outside on the other left area. The reason I do this is you have to have room to put your hand to hold the nut on the inside underneath the rubber sheet while you're tightening the bolt from the outside with a screwdriver. This process is very hard to do, especially if there are bolts sticking through that you have to wiggle your hand around to get to one further towards the middle. Okay, so I bought these bolts. They're 3 inch long, 10 by 24, and they have a bit of a problem. the bottom part of the head is tapered downward, so they have a tendency to burrow into the fiberglass plate if you're using an electric drill, which I did. It pulled through the plastic plate, but luckily it did not cause a leak. So the very best idea is to use a flat washer that comes up against the bottom head of the bolt so it can't be pulled through the plate. Okay, so the sequence is that we have this machine bolt that's 3 inches long. We have the big washer at the head so it doesn't pull through the plate. Then we have the skimmer and the plate in the middle here. And then over to the left we have a smaller washer, a lock washer, and of course the nut that fits on the bolt. Well, it would be best to use a screwdriver the entire way. There's so many threads that most people won't do that. So I'd recommend using an electric drill until the head of the bolt gets about 1/4 of an inch to the plate's hole, and then using a screwdriver the rest of the way. And now here's a little bit of a blooper. That it rips right through the plate and into the, it's a dog nose, into the... Here's what I bought. They're all stainless steel. Here's the machine bolt, 3 inches long. The washer, it's number 12. The lock washer to prevent them from slipping, and the nut that goes on the bolt. And here's the last one. It's the washer, the right size diameter and the right size hole. So as you can see, here's a washer on the outside where the plate is, this being the plate. It comes into here with a nice flush surface. You have the washer and then the lock washer and then the bolt on and ready to go. At this point, I'm going to be using a screwdriver rather than a drill. You know, even with hand screwing it, as you can see here, this smaller washer kind of got stuck inset into the hole. So I would certainly recommend using these larger washers that are foolproof. So here is a good example of what it looks like on the side. These are relatively easy to get to since there's a decent sized hole here for me to get the wrench around like this. But you can imagine how hard holding the wrench and the nut on the underside way underneath here as you move your arm down into this tunnel to get the very bottom of the nuts and bolts tight for the plate. I tried 2 techniques. One was holding the nut with this closed-in part of the wrench. The other one was using my 2 fingers to hold the nut underneath the skimmer. Both were very difficult as I tried to hold the nut and use this screwdriver to tighten on the other side. It's very easy at the top because we're not encumbered by any dirt or pond liner. Okay, so we're done. Here's a view of the right size washers all along the plate, and a view of the entire Savio Pond filter skimmer. I hope you found this useful and that you can find some ideas in here to help you fix any of the 3 problems we went over today. Good luck with all of your work.